live in the dungeon. This is the Dream Warrior Review. I'm Kurt Thomas.
I'm Mick Strawn.
$40. This is a 40-year anniversary
40 years, yeah.
of, as we discussed previously,
Yeah,
one of the best movies ever.
Which I gave a 2.5 and you gave a 4.6.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Laurie Strode comes to her final confrontation with Michael Myers, the masked figure who has haunted her since her narrowly escaped. What? Laurie Strode comes to her final. Oh, wait, let me try again.
Haunted her since she narrowly escaped his killing spree on Halloween night.
Laurie
4
Strode.
decades ago.
I can do this again.
Start again.
I feel like I can do this without breathing. Ready?
You do better?
Laurie Strode comes to find her confrontation with Michael Myers, the masked figure who has haunted her since her narrowly escaped his killing spree on Halloween night 4 decades ago.
What is something like that? Anyway,
You blew it again.
Michael Myers came back to find Laurie Strode and finally
That's right,
kill her,
yeah.
and she was going to fight back.
Yeah.
That's how I would describe it.
Okay. So who's this directed by?
Oh.
David Gordon Green.
He did a great job.
He did a great job. You know what? I got to completely go with you on that. He did a great job. I totally hated Halloween.
I loved it. And I think, you know what? Okay.
I hated Halloween.
Let me just get this out. Because it's going to
this.
kill me if I keep it in.
Okay.
This is finally, after 9 movies now, this is finally the only sequel that really makes sense and I like a lot because it follows Halloween 2.
Yeah.
So this is Halloween 3 basically. So all the other sequels could off. Oh, and I have to tell you the creepy thing that when I was getting ready to go watch the movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
My daughter,
yes,
who's only 4,
right,
was singing a song. We're humming a song.
right.
It was
Halloween, Halloween, happy, happy Halloween, Silver Shamrock.
but instead of saying Silver Shamrock, she said Jack-o'-lantern. But I was like, that is so creepy.
Well, there you go.
I'm done.
Hey, I just had a great time. It was
So I think this was a good horror movie.
It was a good horror movie.
But you know one thing I really liked about it? He only really had one murder weapon. I mean, he did a couple things here and there.
He found the thing.
But it wasn't boring.
No, it wasn't. It was. You know, the thing is there was a lot of really cool stuff going on.
Yeah.
And it was well written, and there were a lot of little twists in it.
And the music.
And the music was
I think
amazing.
he improved on it because there was this.
Oh, there's just
one
no
point
doubt.
that was really loud, like. Argh.
Yeah, that thing.
Yeah.
Whatever that sound was,
Yeah.
that was cool. The thing is the music this time was more intrinsically tied into its soundscape and sound design.
Yeah.
And what he did is he made the sound design the music soundtrack.
Yeah.
So that there was no negligible difference between the two.
Went with the action for
Yeah,
sure.
and it was really cool. It was.
One of my favorite parts of the music was when they were going to somewhere.
Right, somewhere and
the
somewhere
music
else.
started picking up. You know. With
Right. Oh, and then it had the old hook in it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I noticed. Even I noticed that.
But it had more of the. Like, I don't know. I don't know what that was. The acting was great except for one guy. But I think I agree with you.
You agree with me?
But I do love his voice.
You love it? Okay.
The doctor.
Oh, the doctor was terrible.
He was. It was pretty bad.
He was. I swear, he was.
But his voice was great. It was like really deep.
Here's the thing that I really noticed as a difference is the kids, the young people in this were amazingly good actors, which in the last version of it that we watched, Halloween, there was that
they were
really
newcomers
wide
back then,
I know,
right?
but there
Big
was
gap.
that wide range.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
And this time, I think the available. I have to say that probably because of one thing and another. I mean, part of it is just people try a lot harder in acting is a hobby as well as like master class and there's just so many more people doing it that the depth of the field, like if you're playing football, the depth of the bench is a lot.
Well, can't you argue though that 1978 Halloween was it was definitely a different kind of horror movie than you'd seen up to that point.
Right.
So I think people that are acting in it now have seen all these horror movies.
Well,
and they kind of know.
But the thing is I think that Halloween took right off of the 50s House on Haunted Hill, the true ghost stories, and they were maybe the second one to introduce the slasher element.
Well, this followed Leatherface for sure. I mean,
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That was the one. This is the one that's
I don't know if I'd really call it a slasher though.
Well, I know,
Yeah.
but it was what you got back then.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, for slasher, it was the very beginning.
Right. Yeah.
But it had a
Leatherface
lot.
was so different. That was just
But it had a lot of the more of a shot like a ghost, and even this one to a certain extent shot Michael Myers like an ethereal creature,
like the shape, the boogeyman.
The shape, yeah, absolutely.
But
and
there were some slow spots in this, and do you see? That was my argument for the first one.
Right.
It's like the slow parts kind of build up the tension, like you're waiting for something to happen.
Yeah, but there was nothing.
And then when it finally happens,
there was nothing but slow spots in the first one.
But this one had a big one, and it was like, and then it started building up a little bit, and you're waiting for something to happen, and it just never does. But then when it finally does, it's like crazy.
Right. Yeah. No, I completely agree. Well, the thing is they had to. There were things that they had to build around the family that they hadn't at the very beginning.
They had to cram it in there, yeah.
They
did a good job of putting it in there.
What they had to do is they had that period in the middle of it where they had to take the family.
Let's go back and explain some things.
Yeah, let's explain some things, and let's throw the whole family in jeopardy all at once, right?
Yeah.
And
build up the tension pretty quick. Again. And there's a couple twists in there that I liked that I wasn't expecting, for sure.
I agree
the short
all
guy,
the way.
There's a short guy that really surprised me.
Yeah.
But and then Nick Castle, I think I'm not 100% sure, but I know he was the shape. He was the guy that played Michael Myers in The Mask.
Right.
But there might have been another actor, I don't know. But I haven't done my research.
But you know what?
I haven't done my research yet.
I'm going to bet you that
Anyway.
Nick Castle was the one that was standing in the beginning.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would say that probably he didn't do all of the stunt work at the end as things really got.
I was even wondering if he did the sit-up thing. You know how I always have the sit-up thing in every Halloween movie where he sits up?
Yeah, where he's...
I don't know if he was even able to do that.
Yeah, that's a good question. That really is. I'm
not that
sure
old.
that I couldn't.
But, how awesome was Jamie Lee Curtis? Like, if you look at, like...
She was. I got to tell you. And the thing is...
The way she handled the gun, she obviously, like...
Right.
Did
she obviously really practiced. And she looked... like a mean
badass,
pissed
like a
badass
old lady.
Yeah. I thought that there was one thing that I could quibble with a little bit, and it had to do with the youngest daughter on her way, towards the end, and she runs into the field of you know what I'm talking about, into the field of mannequins, right?
Yep.
Lame. God, that was a 50s.
It was
horror shot.
Yeah,
that whole sequence. I was like, oh my God, really?
It reminded me kind of like of Night of the Living Dead or something.
Right, it did.
It's a little bit like that.
It was a Night of the Living Dead filler, is what it was.
Oh, and I always like movies where people are like stuck in a certain place and they have to do something to get out of it. Like, you know what I mean? I'm trying to be really vague here, but
yeah. Oh yeah, right.
But yeah, I mean, I guess if you see the trailers, you might know what I'm talking about, kind of. But
I am absolutely with you. I enjoyed it 100% sure.
Then I'm confused on where they shot this because, like, I swear the first one was in California.
It was in California. I'm pretty
this
sure.
one said South Carolina. I'm like, okay, that's interesting. But yeah, no. So I like the acting. I like the sound design. The production design was good.
I thought the DP was amazing.
Yeah,
I thought the look of it, the look of it was good. It was
a lot of that good fog on the ground.
Yeah, but I mean the stuff at night.
I like some of the shots at night
dark.
where it was really foggy and they had like somebody walking across the screen, but all you can see is like the silhouette with like the headlights coming through and a lot of fog.
Oh yeah.
It was like a lot of really pretty shots.
There was a lot of really
good kills too.
And many good kills.
Yeah,
many good kills. A lot of action in this one.
Yeah,
which was kind of lacking to me in the first. I don't want to sit down and draw straight across comparisons. This was to me just a much more modern take on it.
But see, I remember. I wish I could have watched the second one. I should have done that before I watched this one because this was a really good sequel. I mean, I was just really impressed with how. In fact, I watched I won't mention what movie it was recently, but it was a Blumhouse.
Yeah.
And I was so disappointed. I was like, this movie sucks.
Well,
so this was. I think it's all about the director, really. I mean.
Oh yeah! Oh
yeah! I mean,
the director, the DP that pulled it together. I thought the production design.
Because there's another director who does Blumhouse movies generally, and I'm not really a fan of his that much.
Oh yeah, well
yeah, we won't go into that.
No, I agree. I agree, but obviously, this was not just a Blumhouse film because this was, for one thing, the executive producers were. What's her name? The Jamie Lee Curtis and the director.
Yeah.
Were the executive producers. So the director of the first one were the executive producers. So they obviously they would have brought more finances to it.
And probably had influence on
and
the story,
Miramax
probably.
Miramax was there too. So it was a combination of some of the. In other words, they all had a project that they knew that they wanted to put money in. They wanted to have time to do it right. And you know what time to do it right means? Time to do it right means that when you look at it and go, oh, well, this part didn't work, you actually go out and do it again.
Right. Yeah.
You know, and you fix it.
You have the budget for it.
You have the budget for it. You have the budget to take a deep breath and go, okay, well, we can do this better this way. And yeah, I know. I mean, and it's obvious that that's what they did, and it was more complex. You know, I appreciated that. I just thought the first one was just.
And as a Halloween fan, I like how they weaved in callbacks to like their previous movies. Like they had the mask from the Halloween 3. They had this shot where somebody was. I need to cut that out because that was probably not vague enough. Anyway, there's a couple shots from the first one, second one, third one for sure, and then there was I don't know. I just like how they weaved that in there.
Oh, and I love the fact that they killed British people.
Right.
I like.
You have to look up. I'll have to send you this link to this parody I found. It was Halloween 60.
Yeah.
It's in a nursing home. And I'm a fan of horror. Like, I want to do the nursing home with, like, Freddy, Leatherface.
Oh, right. Yeah. We talked about
Michael
that
Myers.
before.
I mean,
right.
we got to do that. Anyway.
Yeah.
I just got to get the Kickstarter going.
I just love it when people with British accents are killed off.
Right. You missed something really interesting. Because you had a potty break.
Oh, I did. Yeah. What did I miss?
There was this cool thing where they played. That was one of the things they played, like the audio clip of Dr. Loomis talking.
Okay.
It was on an old tape.
Right. I heard
and
that as I was leaving.
It started distorting, and it was like, he must die.
Right.
He must die. It was cool how they did it, but it was like it made it really sound kind of creepy.
I've noticed something is that people are playing 20s music now.
Yeah.
That either the sound is totally the 20s, like coming through a gramophone, and the old 4/4 kind of jazz straight ahead.
Is that because it's royalty free?
No, but it has a particular,
it has a certain feeling to it. Absolutely.
And here's the thing,
and it's great for horror.
Both of the films that we saw this time, the one we just saw had it, right? And so the other one and the Vengeance trailer,
yes. Well, it works great for horror.
It does. It really does.
Kind of tinny, like kind of creepy sound to it. Which actually, I have a bunch of 78s hidden in a storage shed somewhere. In North America, I have
really?
50 or 60 78s that my grandmother gave me.
Oh yeah,
it's all old jazz stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, my grandmother had. My mother had my grandmother's,
Well, my grandmother was like, "Yeah, let your brothers look to these records. They weren't that interested. You're the only one that seems to care about music as much as." And so I got like my uncle's old music, my dad's old music, my grandparents' old music, and it was just like everything from the 20s all the way through the 70s. It was weird. So my uncle was kind of into psychedelic rock. My dad was into like Motown. And
oh, really?
So my grandparents were into jazz and like Slim Whitman and country music. It was kind of a weird collection of, but I still have the collection.
There's something that I've always really kind of gotten into Bob Willis stuff. You know, the country swing.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah,
which is an interesting little.
Which would be great for a horror movie too.
It would be totally great. Yeah, absolutely. Well, we'll figure it out.
Of course, I did like Air Supply in that one movie we watched. It was otherwise it wasn't a great movie, but the fact that they used Air Supply during a horrible scene was awesome.
Yeah, it was because Air Supply is horrible. And that's a psychological thing right there. That's what that was.
So, and also there was a good scene with a bus where she sees the bus. I won't go any further, but it was a pretty dramatic scene.
Yeah.
What was I gonna say? Oh, speaking of producers, I forgot to mention this. Speaking of producers, I was curious why it said dedicated to Mustafa Akkad.
Right. Did you find out about that?
Which I didn't recognize the name at all, but Mustafa Al-Akkad, I hope I'm pronouncing that right.
Okay.
Is a Syrian-American film producer and director known for producing the original series of Halloween.
Oh, really?
And directing Muhammad, Messenger of God, and Lion of the Desert. I don't know what those are, but...
Lion of the Desert, I've heard of. Yeah.
He was killed along with his daughter.
Oh, my gosh.
In the month of 2005 in Amman bombings. That's very depressing.
Oh, that's very depressing. Oh, that's horrible.
Yeah.
Okay.
So anyway, I just brought this podcast to a grinding halt.
Thanks for that. You know what? Let's grade this, and then I want to do I want to talk about Glass.
Okay.
Okay. So, I
think
I'm going to give this a 3.9, you know?
See, I break this higher because I think anybody who doesn't know
it, I'm going to go with 4.1.
Anybody who doesn't know about Halloween would appreciate this.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. This is just a great film. It's just absolutely a great film.
And if you're a Halloween fan that's been irritated with like Halloween 4, Halloween 5, or any of the sequels, or the Rob Zombie travesties that happened, you will love this movie.
Didn't he do the second one?
He did. Well, he redid Halloween 1 and Halloween 2. He kind of redid those.
Oh, did he?
In his own fashion.
Yeah, we've got to get into Rob Zombie and see what he's about.
He has a couple great movies I really like.
Yeah,
but I think he ruined the Halloween movies that he tried to do. I don't know. Anyway, so I rate this higher just because I'm a Halloween fan, so it's hard for me not to rate it.
Okay,
but not as high as the first one. I'd say 4.3.
Oh, I thought it was so much better than the first one. So much better than the first one. So
I don't know. I think the first one's just so ingrained in my skull that
it is. You know what? And I say this lovingly. People like a lot of times your first horror film.
It was my first,
or maybe your first that you'll imprint
first one I really liked.
The one that first one that you really like.
I agree with that.
Like Nightmare on Elm Street. You know, it depends on.
I don't deny that.
Which one that you saw first? You know,
well,
really
we learned that from talking to the Elm Street girls. Obviously,
absolutely.
When they were young girls, their parents let them watch. I don't know why they did that, but they let them watch. They watched Freddy Krueger.
People are insane.
I didn't have a crush on Michael Myers. That's the only difference.
Oh, there you go.
No,
that's true.
Yeah.
So,
and of course, I saw him on VHS. So it's a little different. I didn't see Halloween in a movie theater because I wasn't old enough.
Yeah,
I was 4.
Right.
But I saw them later when I rented it. So it was a different experience for me.
Yeah, I'm 100% sure that I did not see it in the theater. So I think that really I didn't see Halloween until recently.
So tell me about 80s Glass.
Let me tell you about Glass. That was a good segue. Let me tell you about Glass because this is something that I have recently been educated about and had a long discussion with a couple of people.
Story time.
It's story time with Mick.
Story time with Mick.
Story time with Mick.
Story time with Mick. Story time with Mick. Story time with Mick.
I want to thank Dustin Monteith for he's going to be working on the new Vengeance film, Friday the 13th Vengeance film that I'll be working on. Also,
there's a teaser out there.
Yeah,
and I saw it online recently, and I am into this. I'm like,
it is great.
I'll be there. I'll be watching
one of the things that's really cool about it is the look of it. It has we were building the best lenses that we could back in the 80s and 70s, and everybody built the best lenses that they could for the time. But the thing is the film stocks themselves limited how you would actually judge the lens. the film is jumping all over the place, and the grain is only going to give you so much definition, and most of these lenses for movies are made by hand, because they are very limited runs, and the thing is like until Panavision came along. Panavision literally started in the 60s, and I thank Roy Wagner for my education on cameras and reading some of his articles. He actually was the DP on Nightmare on Elm Street 3, but he also is a very experienced and dedicated camera historian.
Huh.
And photography, a movie and photography historian, and his talking about Panavision, which is like the main American. It used to be that the people who had the camera departments were the ones that were in the big films, the big film studios, MGM and all the rest of these.
Right, yeah.
And the things that they were using is they were using the same Mitchell cameras that had been used and made for World War II.
Wow.
And they modified them in their own shops. They modified them to be slightly better and to use slightly better lenses and
the different aspect ratios, like
they put sound on them and stuff like that.
Some were like 60s
movies
being different, like
oh yeah, absolutely, very narrow, very narrower. Yeah. And the thing is Panavision came along and started to have an art. What they did is they made an agreement. Literally, some of the people from the studios, as the studios started to dissolve, they got together and made Panavision and went in and bought a lot of the studio's equipment from the studios, and then took it and modified it and made it better and better and better, and started to lease it back to the studios. And therefore you started to get a technology chase.
Oh, yeah.
And lenses got better and the cameras got slightly better. But they had, the problem is that they were using film, and so the film still limited how far their definition was going to be required. Okay, and then recently, the technology in the 90s and the 2000s, using computers to define where the focal lengths should be and where things should fit and because this is really complicated stuff, and the more that you can put a computer in and test it and then run it through and do it mathematically. Anyway, what it did is it almost immediately at the beginning of the 2000s started to create amazing lenses that were more suited for the digital, because now you had digital film planes. Mm-hmm. So that you had all this information coming in, and being as all the information would come in and it wouldn't be jumping around like a film or anything like that, they could sit back and make a better lens, get a better image, and then that image started to show through on things like skateboard films. The GoPros are a perfect example of this. Yeah. And the thing is if you're into surfing and you're into skating, then you're into the ultimate. You're watching the technology, you're watching the waves, you're watching the things go by.
Yeah, of course.
Snowboarding, you're watching the snow and all the rest of this. Yeah. And you want the ultimate pinnacle in the highest possible definition. Right. So you go with the GoPros, okay?
Yeah. Well, plus they're easy because you can attach them to things.
Right, you can attach them to things. But the thing is they are all about being sharp. Yeah. Right? That's the number one thing. Everything is sharp. And the thing is you have to admit it's too sharp. I mean, they're too sharp to tell a story with, because there's so much information hitting your eye that the entire thing is quite distracting.
Yep.
And the thing is that a skateboard film doesn't really have a story. It has skateboard shots.
Right.
It has snowmobile shots, it has surfing shots. You're looking at those shots. And the thing is if I'm going to tell a story, if I'm a writer and I tell a story, I'm not going to put in absolutely every little teeny tiny detail of what's going around. I'm going to use my skills to limit that. And so therefore, filmmakers suddenly have had a problem since since 2010 on, that they have the capability to make these incredibly clear lenses and to bring you more information than you need. Yeah. Now, one of the things that they're doing is they're having to sit back and say, well, how much information do you really need? And because of that, I'm going to give you... Is this where
filters come in?
Well, this is... The thing is
it's like there's a lot of things that
it's way further than filters.
Yeah.
Because the thing is the glass itself off of 80s films is... Well, in a way, it's just easy to put. It's an acquired taste for all of us. And it's what we, as a group of people, are used to, is seeing that softer effect, especially for things like horror films.
Yes.
And it is particularly important for horror films.
Yep, absolutely.
And there is something that I have noticed, though, is now you're, there were an awful lot of cases of where some of the shooting on what was the series that we just recently did?
Castle Rock?
Castle Rock.
Yeah.
The Castle Rock series. Some of that was too clear.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and the thing is I'm pretty sure that their entire collection of lenses was a little bit hodgepodge, because some of the lenses were clear and some of them weren't. And if you will notice, this is all of the... Lately, I've noticed all of the... drone shots are super clear. Those cameras are really, really clear. And so when you look down at the town, before the town was a blur. Now, you watch a guy, you see the whole town at once, and you can see a guy on Main Street picking his nose.
Yeah. You read the headlines in somebody's newspaper.
Yeah, you read the headlines in the newspaper. Yeah, absolutely.
So somebody should attach an old camera to a drone.
Well, you can't though. See, that's the thing.
Right. Well, this is why I'm going to shoot my next film on 16 millimeter.
Well, there you go. And you know what? People are going back to film. They are.
I guess I need to make a film now because I just made that announcement.
But that's what happened on my book.
Right. There you go. Well, I am going to make a film. I have to inform you because you might be involved with it.
Well, I'm okay.
Under protest.
Under protest.
You'll be involved.
Pretty sure. So anyway, the thing is now we have a couple of new things to think about in terms of
like lighting.
Well, lighting's a whole thing. I mean, that's another thing.
But you can affect how things look, both
Oh, right.
in a huge way for lighting.
But the thing is they're going in and retro reworking the lenses. They're looking at some of those 80s lenses, taking them apart now, and then duplicating the whole lens so that it duplicates that look, right? And they're renting them out, and the thing is
crazy.
Is that the a movie lens from the 80s right now is called 80s glass, and it is incredibly expensive.
That's crazy
because it has that, and those duplications of the shots. We used lenses on when we were shooting Vengeance the trailer. We were using lenses that were duplications of that of that softer 80s look. And it isn't a matter of putting a filter on, because a filter makes absolutely everything.
Yeah.
Everything is just soft focus, right? Mm-hmm. And that's not what these lenses do. They just have more of a depth of field. They are nowhere near as efficient because all the different refracting and stuff is a little bit off. So so your depth of field is tighter, and things that are in the background never get super sharp. Even though you would naturally be seeing that, they don't get super sharp, and spots of them are, and anyway, they're now duplicating. So that's crazy. I swear to God. You see, the thing is for me, when I'm talking to Dustin, and Dustin's going, yeah, well, some of those ancient 70s and 80s lenses. I'm like, yeah, you mean the ones that I used for most of my career? Yeah.
Wow. Well, so you can't have an 80s glass filter on your editing equipment? Like on your software?
Well, you can. No. You can.
See, I like editing, so I kind of think it from that angle, too.
Well, the thing is even with a GoPro and stuff like that, there's filters.
Yeah. It's not the same, though, is it?
There's filters that they put on all the time.
Because it's like still photography I do. Well, it's like what your lenses sometimes make more difference in your filters after the fact.
Just the fact that that currently film is transferred as frames, which is a filter by itself, because that's not the way that a computer scans an image. It scans it just like video used to. It goes like this, but it does so fast it doesn't make any difference, and they break everything into frames.
Yeah.
Video used to, how video worked is video would work as one dot would go across the screen super fast and eliminate and turn white and black and whatever, and your persistence of vision was off that one dot, right? And so they would come out as lines, down like this. It's still there's a computer in it that is still making that decision to give you a frame, right? So all these things are to bring in a soft focus is not necessarily just the soft focus. It is the look of everything that is in the lens that makes the lens what it is. But there are types that of filters that you can add in editing that add even grain to it, an image.
And it's gotten so much better in the last 10 years for
sure.
Oh,
it has completely. Yeah.
Because I know, I used to do a lot of editing back in early 2000s, and the filters weren't perfect, especially on. I hate to say that. I'll bleep that out so nobody knows what company I just said. But I've noticed a huge difference. And
so with all this and telling everybody about the lenses and stuff, I'm really excited to say that I'm going to be working on Vengeance. Friday the 13th. Vengeance is going to be a what do they call it?
Fan film.
It's a fan film. Yeah. But we are also going to be. It's for Brown Space Films. We're also going to be attaching to it a trailer for an original science fiction film. Ooh, and we're going to work on those concurrently.
Nice.
And I think that we're going to be filming in around February of next year. And so time is coming. I'm going to be the production designer, and I'm going to first AD it, because they need somebody of experience and temperament.
Right.
And by temperament, I mean a really bad temper.
They need somebody ancient and wise.
You need something ancient
just
and
like
wise.
Just like 80s glass.
Yeah, well, you kids just do it the way you want to have to go to the bathroom. I'll be back. That kind of thing. So, yeah.
You don't need sleep. We do turnarounds in my day.
I was awake through the 80s. The whole 80s.
You didn't sleep till 1994, right?
I slept through 1991. Didn't go to sleep again after that until 2002.
Now that's like all you talk about. Oh, I gotta get done recording this so I can go home and sleep.
Yeah, that's right. Really, virtually, what do our conversations sound like at the end of these recordings?
Right. Yeah.
What do I say?
I'm going to bed.
I'm going to bed. I'm out of here. There you go. So that's us. I thought I would bring a little interesting,
that was awesome.
A little bit interesting what Mick learned that kind of combines that 80s flair with a modern twist.
That's awesome.
There you go.
Thank you, Roy Wagner, for.
Thank you, Roy. I'd like to thank Roy, and I'd like to thank Dustin.
I thought you were going to say Cecil B. DeMille. Oh. I don't know.
Yeah.
Soft focus.
Our DP for Vengeance, Dustin Moncrief.
It's exciting.
He's teamed, and I'm going to go out there and I'm going to learn as much as I can because I want to be well versed in the old world and the new world.
Wow.
Learning something when you're 61, your brain isn't so elastic. So you know what I've been doing is I've been taking a rubber band and just shooting it into my head, my forehead.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That works.
Well, that's making up for the elasticity.
It's almost like Karate Kid or Teen Wolf.
Teen Wolf.
Where they were the dad?
No. Yeah, Teen Wolf 2.
The dad says...
Teen Wolf 2.
He turns into a... Well, I'll just ruin it for everybody.
Okay.
The dad turns into a wolf just to show the son that... and he guides them.
Right.
He gives them advice.
That's what this is.
Yes.
That's exactly what this is.
There you go. Thanks for joining us on the Dream Warrior Review podcast. Don't forget to tell your friends about us, follow us, and, of course, like us. We can be found on Podbean, which is an amazing app, YouTube, Stitcher, Alexa on any pod, iTunes, Google Play. We're on Twitter as well, at DW Review, and, of course, Facebook. You can find us there. You can also email us at dreamwarriorreview@gmail.com.